summary. Good evening, folks. Today is Tuesday. It's 6:30 p.m. and this is Issachar Consultancy Services, and I am Gregory Isaacs, your host. I also am the owner manager of Issachar Consultancy Services. And like I said last week, we are taking advantage of this month of October, which has been declared Mental Health Education Month, and I am so happy that this has been done. And this week in particular is Mental Health Week. I am happy because what I see as one of the outcomes of this declaration is that the issue of mental health will not be stigmatized and looked down upon, but we'll see it as something real in the lives of good people who need help. And when those of us who have the skills, who have the training can help, we must step up to the plate and help. Okay, so we're focusing this evening on a particular age group, a very powerful age group, the teens and young adults. And with me in studio this afternoon is a friend and colleague, Shakir London, no stranger to the mental health community, psychologists, psychotherapists, counselors, and the like, who work tirelessly throughout the last couple of years working to help. So, good afternoon, Shakir.
Pleasant afternoon to all the listeners, Mr. Isaacs, for having me on. It's a
Amen.
pleasure.
Amen. 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 It's always nice to have young men involved in the helping profession, because the truth is we have more young men needing the help than any other gender group, that kind of thing. So it's very um, applaudable, and I'm very happy to have you here with me this afternoon for a few minutes. As we start, we are bombarded over the last 2 months. You know, for the year it has been the numbers have been high, but for the last 2 months it seemed to be spiking. The amount of youth in violent crime. Um, I am not sure exactly why. People blaming the police commissioner, people blaming the police, people blaming the prime minister and the party, people blaming everybody. But what I'm not seeing, and I only recently started to see, I should say, is attention being placed on the whole issue of mental health. Prior to prior to last month, September, we had the unfortunate unveiling, as it were, of the issue of the home where young boys and those inmates at the home were abused 25 plus years ago. And then just about a year and a half ago, we had another care facility where again the specter of abuse of these young boys came up, you know. But what we are not seeing is the perpetrators of these crimes being brought to justice. What we're not seeing that. But we know for a fact, and we are seeing those victims. And the victims of abuse um, carry their pain for a long time. They carry their pain for a long time. Some, you know, till they die. But these young men who have not been incarcerated, these young men who have not been in homes, that kind of thing, supposedly coming from maybe a decent home, I would imagine, have found themselves in activities that are unsavory, unhealthy, and downright criminal. What do you think, Shakil, might be some kind of a factor that causing them or pushing them in that direction?
I mean, when you think about what is happening in the homes, what is happening behind closed doors, and I mean, you did hint to it, um, that there can be experiences of trauma or traumatic experiences, that a young man may go through, or a little boy may go through, you know, and we take it for granted in neglect, where he is not my priority, my little son. I have other priorities, whether it be work, whether it be my own time, my own things, or my own or my relationship. So you have the neglect, you have the abandonment, where a lot of young men are looking for daddies. Where is my daddy? And I remember doing a session with some young men, and when I asked them somebody that they cared about, they said, "Mr. London, my mother." So I said, "So what about the daddies? We only have men here, young men here." If you see the faces, the anger towards the
Mhm.
daddy. So a lot of the young men, they're also dealing with rejection, abandonment. So when you have these types of feelings that, no one really cares about me, Mr. Isaacs. No one really is interested in my well-being. You know, you have a young man that has the potential to do anything. Because at the bottom line, for many of the young men, they feel hopeless
Mhm.
and helpless to change the situation, to get what they feel they need, the love, the attention, the caring, the nurturing. I remember a young man told me once, he said, "Mr. London, sometimes I get so defeated, I feel like I could go and get my tool and shoot at the police and them, just for them to shoot me and kill me." So there's the ideations,
Yes, 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 yes. Those homicidal
hopelessness.
ideations, yes,
Yes, you
yes,
know,
yes. That is sad.
Mhm. Where
That
they
is
will
sad.
get involved in activities like this, because what else do I have to live for? If no one cares about me, no one is interested in my well-being. I mean, and we just broad brushing here. This is not you.
True, true,
Obviously, the
true.
exceptions to the rule, but we're broad brushing.
Yeah. As you speak, Shakir, I am seeing it pointing to a critical issue of attachment at birth into the first couple of years of life. That baby boy with mommy being held to the breast and cuddled, and the feeding of that child is more than just giving milk. That that process, a lot of different processes take place there. That nurturing, that feeling of comfort, it builds a significant attachment between this small human being, this man child, you know. And if that is not there, we it seems to me that what you said has a direct correlation with that lack of attachment to mommy, who is taking care of me, who is loving me, who is making me feel special, who my whole world revolves around my mommy who's caring for me. So by the time that child reaches primary school, that child is able to face the world with confidence because he has the backing in his mind. Someone loves me, and that's my mommy. Someone loves me, that's my daddy. But when that is removed, when that is not there, I think a lot of what you're saying, it begins there. That's my belief.
Yeah.
And then at the early adolescent stage, when they go through a major set of changes, you know, when the presence of the parent, mommy and daddy, will build a second level of attachment so that they can face the world with security, with that sense of confidence. And while there's that mental turmoil, who am I? Am I a male? Am I a female? Um, am I loved? Am I not loved? And all of those significant but simple questions. When that can be answered by the level of attachment that comes again, that second level at the adolescent stage. But when that is taken away, I had a phone call this morning and it made me sad. One of my students, I teach psychology now. One of my students was saying on his way to work, by the bus stop, he saw a mother with two small boys going to primary school in the area. And the mother was abusing those boys with extreme foul language, very, very aggressive. You know, that to me is not the kind of preparation for your child to start school on a Tuesday morning, you
Right.
know. And what it says to me is like, why is this woman, this mother, being so abusive to her child? What is going on in her home situation? What is going on in her mind? What is going on in her heart that she would do this? To me, though, that's another thing that points to creating a dysfunctional young man, a criminal young man, a man likely to pull a gun and kill on a whim.
Mhm.
It is, we have some a disease almost in our society that is producing malfunctioning, dysfunctional young men. That is a sad situation, Shakir.
It is.
What
It
we
is.
to do?
There's a scripture that says that for the lack of knowledge, my people perish, and I feel like there's almost like this real lack of knowledge in terms of what proper parenting should look like.
Okay.
We don't provide a template. Mommies, this is what it should look like. Daddies, this is what it should look like. We just expect that as you become of age and you have a child, you ought to know
Mm-hmm.
this is what a daddy should do and this is what a mommy should do. But many people out there don't, or if
We
they do,
don't.
they don't know how to live it out.
Yes.
That child needs love, he needs care, he needs nurturing, he needs attention, he needs to feel validated, appreciated,
Amen.
encouraged.
Yes.
He
Yes.
he
Yes.
needs
Yes.
these types of things, and it's like when we miss the mark, we
We are.
miss the
We are.
mark. So
Definitely. Yeah.
when you have the little child who's supposed to develop this bonding relationship with his mother, he's on the breast, and this trusting relationship, even from as early as then, where the child is bawling, and they just leave the child to bawl, or the
Mm-hmm.
child can
Mm-hmm.
depend on you to comfort
Yes.
him,
True.
you know so you have that then, and then you jump ahead into the teenage years when parents begin to take things personally. When he's coming home late, or he's disrespectful and he's slamming doors, or he's shouting, and I take it personally. So I withdraw my love, or I withdraw myself, I withdraw my affection. I don't
Mm-hmm.
provide support that he needs. Because as much for the parents listening, as much as he might be disrespectful, he still needs your love. He still needs to know that mommy is there for him. He still
True.
needs that bond still needs to be there. And if you distance yourself, you push him away. Mr. London, I can't deal with he. He's a troublemaker. He's not good. He's not good for nothing. You push him away. But the things that you say or the things that you do, you're going to cause this young man or young woman to develop some really, really maladaptive ways of coping and developing, and so perpetuating the cycle, because he's going to have a family of his own, she's going to have a family of her
Yeah,
own.
yeah, yeah. Because now they are sexually active, and they're not waiting. They're not waiting till or to be trained and to understand what it is to be a mother and a father. They start to get involved, and pretty soon they become parents,
Mhm.
and they are not prepared for the whole managing factor and the loving factor that
Yeah.
goes with parenting. It's significant though that um, when I taught in primary school, there was a movement to incorporate health and family life education in the school curriculum.
Right.
That talk went on for about 6 or 8 months, and then it just stopped. I never heard about it again. A month or 2 months ago, I heard Reverend from the Open Bible Church in Pune. I
Mhm.
heard him because he's head of the a particular association, and they had a conversation about the same thing using a Caribbean developed curriculum. You know, I think as we focus in on mental health education, maybe we could adjust the school curriculum to accommodate health and family life education. So very early, young men and young and girls begin to appreciate what it is family looks like, what are their responsibilities, not just to family, but to community, because school is community. Outside the school is community. How do we conduct ourselves in a safe way? How do we express our disappointment safely? All of those are the things that should be part of the school curriculum. And maybe we
Yes,
could take
yes.
out some of those strong emphases on academic areas, so that we build a whole person, you
Mm,
know, rather than a lopsided person who might have
yes.
passes
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
no ability, but likely to have conduct disorders, likely to have, like I say, maladaptive behaviors and unable to respond or manage criticism, because that's part of the whole You will get, you will get the criticism, you'll get all of those things in your life. How do I get jacked up and angry and want to pull a gun or a cutlass at night every time somebody criticizes me or say something that I don't like. You know, when we do that, I think we could stem the tide of youth violence. We could stem the tide of maladaptive behaviors in young adults, because it is really, really, really sad, the sheer numbers that populate our prison. You
I
know,
agree
it's
with you. I
really,
agree
really
with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. I feel like there's so much. I mean, you're in school for 12 years of your life. Those 12 years all the way up to
sad. From in
CX.
front of standard five to form
Yeah.
five, yeah, like
And
12
it's more
years.
than just to get some subjects, because
Yeah,
we expect you to come out from school and to be a responsible, law-abiding,
citizen.
working citizen of Trinidad, and to be contributing to the development of our country. And but we are missing the mark. And so, how can we use the institutions that are available to us? The majority of our population pass through the school systems,
True.
and that is an opportunity that we miss. We
Yeah, I
miss.
think you have them captive for 12 years.
Yeah,
There is so
exactly. Yeah.
much you can do. There
whether
is
they
so
whether
much.
you're rich or you're poor, or whatever race you belong to, you pass through the school system. So it is an opportunity that presents itself. How can we capitalize on the school system, and amending the curriculum to introduce some things that will help create more well-rounded citizens,
That's correct.
that they're able to manage the emotional and
Yeah,
mental
yeah,
well-being,
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
addition to the academic health, in
yeah.
addition to skill training, and the
Yes,
things that they would need. I mean,
absolutely,
um,
absolutely,
I'm passionate
absolutely.
about it. I feel like
Yes, that's why I took the time. I said, let me do something in this October month. Let me start these conversations. And as we do it, hopefully those who are listening live and those who will listen to the recorded version on Facebook and YouTube could stir up something. I have missed this. How do I get it now? Who do I turn to? You know, I am presenting myself. I am bringing people who I know who are skilled. They are presenting themselves. So I want to put out in John Public's face, capable young men, capable people who are available to bring the help that they desperately need, because they don't believe they need help, because they're just going along at a pace. They're just going along at a pace. I was part of a funeral a while ago. A young man, probably he was in 30, maybe 24, 25. So, and I overheard his mother saying that this young man had already put aside his funeral money because he was into bandit business. He had put aside over $30,000 for his funeral, and this boy was about 24 years of age. you know. And another young lady who standing around at the back of the church, she was saying, "Look, I almost 13, you know. I'm so happy I reached this age, because not many of us gonna make it." And I'm like, whoa, I am going on 55, heading for 60. And she's
a
the
different world.
whole new world. It's a whole new world, a whole new kind of a thinking.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you tell people that and they don't believe you, when I tell people these stories that I have encountered over the years, don't they really do not believe me, you know? And they simply cry or are in awe when the criminal activities they are involved in hit the newspapers. Because they live in a world that is cocooned, and they have not stepped out.
Yes.
But this is a call to our educators, our primary school people, administrators, our secondary school administrators, and even those other social groups within our communities, whether it's a football club or a basketball club, you know, bringing some mental health professionals, even if it's for 20 minutes or 15 minutes before practice, and have a conversation, talk with them in a simple way, and let them know what's going on, let them know the time of day, and get them prepared, because our politics in the national newspapers, you know, doesn't offer much in terms of helping them. There's so much anger, there's so much animosity there, and vitriol in the newspapers every day. It seems as though, well, this is the way you communicate. If you're not back, if you're not bad talking and putting down and cussing out somebody, you're not functioning. So there is a model of behavior that is detrimental to the wellness of these two significant populations in our society. You know, all of the hullabaloo with our police commissioner. One would think that he was there when they were having sex to birth this child. He was there when the child was born, day 1 to 2 or 3 years of age, and he caused all the fault with these young men from that time. He was there at the primary school and secondary school years causing all the problem. He was not there. Neither was the prime minister. It was you and your pick me. you know. So why do we blame these people who are so far removed from our specific situations? I think the blame game is just a cover up for their own inadequacies. It's a cover up, not
Yes.
wanting to admit, I have failed my son, I have failed my daughter. What can I do? That's how I see it. And until these people um, start to appreciate, listen, I have made some bad decisions. You know, let me get help. Let somebody guide me so I can at least start to remediate my
Mhm.
son who is 14 or 16 or 17 and try to see how much I can help before it's too late. That has to happen. Our parenting, our young parents, um, they have to come to the table and say, I raise their hand and say, help me, please. You know,
Mhm.
and if they are not doing that, they will continue to create little monsters. That's about the size of it.
So true.
You know, it's
I asked a young man some years ago, how he felt about the crime situation. He said, Mr. London, what crime situation? It is as if, because sometimes we get so accustomed to seeing things in our bubble, eh? But
yes,
for him, this was normal. This is
our
normal
life.
life. Yeah, this is
No,
life. There's no crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago.
true.
you know and as you say, we expect certain people to fix it. You should just fix this problem. Almost a desperation to into
Yes,
what we see. But a lot of it starts with, as you said, with us. And you would know when you do therapy and you see what is happening behind closed doors.
yeah, yeah,
You have a better understanding of why things are the way that they are. The moral decay that would have occurred, that passes on from one generation to the next. You know, um, and we are trying here now to what we are trying to do is pull things back.
yeah,
Pull things back. We're trying to hold it from holding the holy
yeah.
horse from getting
The
away.
horse run away and be running behind the horse trying to grab him, and
Yeah.
he going at full speed. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
it's a losing battle,
True.
but we have to rethink our approaches. I don't know if we should give up on this generation and focus on the one that's coming up. I don't
Hmm.
know, but it really requires some drastic um, measures.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I one of the things I've been doing regularly over the last decade or so is looking at models outside of our Caribbean region. You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
and I see some models working in Norway and Sweden, for instance.
Mhm.
You know, where education at the preschool, primary school, and secondary school level is free, absolutely free, but it's mandatory. And they have some of the best graduates from universities as the teachers, you know, and they are paid even higher than doctors and lawyers and stuff, you know, and they have successfully incorporated um, a version of health and family life education, and they mandate that would be part of, like, they mandate parents to come into the
Yeah.
school at least 2 to 3 hours per month. You know, you can divide it up into half-hour blocks, but every month your child is getting free education. You must come and participate in some of these school activities, whether it's supervising play and the break time, or they go into outing, you present yourself to supervise, or you get involved in something with the teacher and the children sometimes. So
Right.
that and the history of the statistics coming out of that model is really, really fantastic. The success rate, the at university level from these people, because this has been started more than 30 years ago.
Right.
So the results have been, you know, really, really commendable. So we should be looking at that and incorporating that in our Caribbean region rather than blame our history. Yes,
Right.
our history is sad. Slavery was never good. You know, yes, our forefathers have endured, and our mothers in history have suffered lack and been dispossessed, and where their partners left and migrated. All of these things are real. We're not denying it. But in 2020, 60 years of independence, we must show something different now
True.
as we start to train people for the next for the next society. You know, when this group has moved on, we have to start to show something different, because we can't be just running from crisis to crisis to crisis. You know, even within the dynamic of church, how much do we allow the church to be part of the whole process of the human and social development of the homes, of the families, you know, where they bring that specific kind of an input, you know, and add it to the academic side, and hopefully we can get a nice balance, you know, that will redound to the benefit of our young boys and young girls. You know, I think that's a resource that is untapped. You know, maybe with some exposure and some training, you know, something good could come out of that kind of a partnership. You know, that is absolutely critical that they can bring to the table as it relates to training young boys and training young girls to become um, productive young men and young women.
You know, and I think that if you ask the average citizen or the average parent, they will tell you that they would want their son or their daughter to to be successful, to accomplish,
Yes,
to
true.
do well, to be,
Yes,
you know, to be well adjusted. They want these things. But
yes,
am I willing to, using this word loosely, inconvenience myself?
yes,
So that,
yes,
so that I may have to, as you said, I may have to go to school and be a part of the recess time and whatever. I may have to
yes,
carry my child to church with me or to
yes,
wherever. I may have to inconvenience myself. Now I'm saying inconvenience, but um these are things that as a parent I should be doing. I should be
yes,
willing to,
yes,
because I
yes,
want my child to grow up to be, you know, to be something, to do something positive and whatever. I want that, but am I willing to do the work behind it, to put in the
yes.
work? It goes
It's
beyond
about paying a
going
price, you know.
home and taking care and then going back to work. It goes
Yes,
beyond.
and it does, because we can look at what we like to call the prestige schools. And from my experience, having spent some time in the secondary and in primary school, I don't believe there is a prestige school. I believe there are prestige parents who are willing to cooperate with the school management. So when the school management say, listen, we need to raise $50,000 to buy smart boards for Form 5s or whatever technology thing, or to introduce this new subject, we need to outfit a room and it's going to cost 60,000, 70,000. Rather than ball and say, well, I'm not in that. These parents raise their hand and say, listen, how can I help? Whether it's sell blocks and cards or whatever, they raise their hand and they get involved. My alma mater just raised a few $1 million and put smart boards in every single classroom, about 60 smart boards. That is real, real money. Parents came together and worked hard for about a year or so, you know, and now we're seeing the fruit of that of their labor. When a, a, a a colleague of mine I went to school with in secondary school, who just retired as a principal, when he saw what happened at our old school, he said, boy, I wish I could have get quarter of that money. Because when I say, let's try to raise some money, if you get 10 people out of a population of 1,000 parents, you're lucky, So it, it means to say that when parents are prepared to make the sacrifice, get involved in the education and the human development of their children, you will see results. So it's not a matter of the school being prestigious. It's about parents whose mind are in tune with a particular goal and they put out the effort. And these are the prestige parents, you know. So again, we have some skewed thinking with the parents of these young men and these young boys and these young girls. Some skewed thinking, which contributes to all of the negatives we continue to see, you know. And you don't see anybody when you read the national newspapers. Um, since budget, yes, all you're seeing is criticism of the budget, how the government um, making it hard for poor people and all kind of thing and all kind of stuff. But nobody sits back and say, listen, how can I help the school that I am sending my son or daughter to? How can I make a count, even if I do have $1 million in the bank, in my bank account, so I can write a big check? How can I go? You can present yourself at somebody's events and help. You can, ask the question, I want to help. Give me something to do, in lieu of a $10,000 check that you don't have. You
Right.
know, this is what I see parents doing at my alma mater, but in the other schools, they just rock back. Well, so you getting a salary, so government sending money for you, make it work, you know.
And
And
we are
the reality,
surprised. Yeah, we're surprised when we see the type of crimes that we're seeing now, where people's homes, nice homes, are being
yes,
invaded, and you see, there's a cross section of society that we tend to. Uh, let's say I am investing into my child, into the school that my child goes to, and making sure they have what they need, as the case may be. But there are other schools with other children that don't have that type of investment, whose
true,
parents are not willing to make that type of investment, but they live in the same Trinidad and Tobago that we do.
true,
There isn't a line, yeah. There isn't a the gated community that you're living in isn't going to keep you
yeah,
separate and secure from what is happening in our country, and we have to see it as a national issue.
it
These
is
are national problems that we
problem. It is a national problem. Yes, definitely, definitely. We have to. Our leaders have to change the narrative, you know, so that we could encourage parents to buy in. parents have to change their narrative and understand, listen, if I want my son, if I want my daughter to be a success, they may not be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, but they could be skilled in some way earning income. I have a student who is just about 30, a young man who is extremely skilled with his hands, and he has a permanent job. He's working on his side and he's making some good money. He works hard. He works hard and he knows what he wants. He recently became a Christian and he's committed to his church and his salvation. He is not afraid to work hard, you know. And one of the realities we see coming out of these schools where the parents are not being part of the development of the school is the children decide or they look at the behavior of the parents and say, well, if mommy and daddy ain't doing nothing with the school, I ain't doing nothing either. You know, I will just mark time, and when I leave school, I know gunmen, I know bandit men, I go join them and I will make a piece of change. You know, that is the kind of mentality because every time there's some big fact, every time there's some big event, there's a spike in robberies because they want to go to these events. When you have to pay $500 for a ticket for all inclusive or $700, and then an outfit from shoe to hat might cost you $2,000-3,000, and you're not working. That means they gotta rob somebody to get that money, and then they want money now to dress up the girlfriend and money to spend. So they're looking at least for $8,000-9,000 for an event to go and have a good time. And if you're not working, where you getting that from? You know? And sometimes they go home and share the spoils of their robberies and their crime with the parents, and the parents not saying anything. You know, so we are in a society that really needs help. Um, the home issues is challenging, the school issues are challenging, and when they graduate to young adult stage and there is this need to, okay, I need a life partner, I want to get married now, you know, they come to us not prepared for marriage.
No.
But what they see on the television, what they see on social media, they see the bright and the beautiful events at the ceremony, but they don't know what happened after. You know, that's why I have not gone for my marriage license because I don't want people to tell me when I see it they're not ready. I am saying you're not ready for marriage. You're not ready to be a parent. Take a year or 2 years and build yourself. They're not
Yes.
hearing that. Nah, I want to get married. You go make it work. I said, well, fine. I do have a license to marry you. Find somebody else. So they can beg and cry all they want. I
Mhm.
can't do it, so they have to leave. You know,
You
we
know,
have uh, we have to be radical
mhm.
in our approach. You know, and we also must have, I think, some kind of a links with other agencies, with other institutes, whatever it means, so that we can almost be like a barrier,
Mhm.
but not just a immovable barrier, a barrier that is filled with compassion and understanding, a barrier that is teaching, a barrier that is willing to embrace them and hold them in a loving embrace and say, listen, my son, my daughter, the path you have chosen will lead to destruction. You know, walk with me, let me show you a different path. You know, walk with me, let me show you something different. Because at present, you are heading to your death, an early death. You know, let's make a different decision for life. You know, somebody has to be doing that.
Mhm.
Somebody has to be doing that because we really in a difficult situation, and it's sad, and I am just as sad for the children they will go and bring back into the world. You know, I am just as sad for them.
You know,
It's very tough, significant.
someone asked me recently, do I believe that we are beyond hope? And it's a question that I think about very often, especially in the profession that we're in and the work that we're doing. And I think my response to it um, is that if I look at it at a macro level, um, it may be very daunting for me, And so how I look at things, I look at it in the sense where let me see what I can do in the sphere of influence that I have around me. Yeah, let me work and work and work within my sphere of influence. Because if I look at it at too large a level, it could be very daunting, and I could see it
True.
as where are we going? But
That's
if I
correct.
look at my sphere of influence, I can impact people in my sphere of influence. I can move and shake and interact with and motivate and encourage and teach and mentor. I can do things within, and so when I look at it like that and I think about other persons, or I talk to other persons about doing the same, it means that our spheres will overlap.
Yes,
They will
that's
begin to
correct.
overlap.
And that is why I am here today. That is why I say, listen, I need to start this, you know. And if at the end of the month we only reach 10 people, that will be a significant start, And November month we could reach 10 more, and that could be another, and that could be built into something beautiful, and lives can be saved. Lives can be saved because it's one thing to point out the weaknesses in our social systems. It's one thing to point out areas of neglect and to point out parental lack and all of those things. Someone, in my case, I'm saying I am prepared, must start to do something, you know, so that one ripple in this tide could start to build and maybe draw in someone, like I say, these other young counselors I'm embracing and getting on board, you know, if enough of us say, I am prepared to get involved. I am prepared to raise my hand and say, how can I help? I am prepared to do something. I think that ripple effect could begin to create a significant barrier of protection, not a barrier to prevent them from committing crime per se, but a barrier of protection, a barrier of comfort and love, a barrier that speaks to their mental faculties and say, listen, the way I am doing things now, I need to change. If we can influence change through our own actions and our own decisions, we could probably stem the tide and make a difference over the next year or two. That could be a possibility because it makes no sense having the knowledge of what is happening and understanding probably why it is happening and not doing anything about it. It makes no sense. That's why I say, listen, I have to take advantage of this October month. This October month is mental health education because if we start the process of education, put the message out there in a simple form, you know, somebody's gonna listen, somebody's gonna hear the word, somebody's gonna make a phone call and say, Mr. Isaac, I need help. you know Somebody's going to make that decision and respond, and we could start the helping process. Some organization might say, listen, I let me invest in this group because I like what they are doing so that we can do more, because this thing has a cost, you know
Yes,
I
yes,
bear the cost. So if somebody say, listen, let's partner with you and so we can reach more people, that kind of thing. Fine. That is my hope. So that by the time the year is through 2022 and we begin 2023, we can be in a position, to do more things, get involved in a more intimate way with specific groups, you know, offer help to specific organizations and bring that professional help, bring that mental health helps to these spaces and places so that young men and young women can be redeemed. You know, it really requires that kind of a behavior, that kind of a attitude, that model. And I am talking basically a Christ model.
Mhm.
You know, come out of your white castles and your synagogues and your nice buildings and walk the street and let John public know that you are here and you want to be part of the helping process. You know, that is what is necessary. You know, so I engage people, I engage organizations, I listen, I share, and I believe that along the way something will start to happen positively. Because too many young men, when you look and you see 17-year-old boys on the ground with their head halfway blown off, you know, I say, boy, that if my life was different as a parent, it could have been my son. If I didn't make these sacrifices, you know, and deny yourself sometimes um, the time it takes and the energy it takes, it really is a lot.
Mhm.
But as a parent, when you look back and you see where your 25 and 30-year-old children are, you feel comfortable that, listen, those sacrifices you made 25 years ago, it was worth it. So I have to tell the story. I have to put my narrative out there along with um, my skills and training as a psychologist, as a counselor, as a psychotherapist. So when I can marry the two and put it there, you know, in the community, you know, I think that is where something good can happen.
Yeah,
That is where
true,
something good can happen.
true, true. Yeah. And I mean, there are people out there that have a desire to help. There are people out there, just like yourself and myself, that and they may not be a counselor or psychologist or therapist. They may be a teacher, they may be a social worker, they may be in helping professions, motivational speaker, coach, as the case may be, but
Mhm.
they're in areas of influence, you know.
True.
Um, and it is to be able to really utilize the space that is afforded to you to really work, because I mean there's work to be done.
A lot of it.
We can't just wash our hands and say, you
Yeah.
know,
No, 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 no. Definitely not.
yeah,
Definitely
the
not.
Bible talks about picking them up and putting them on our own donkey and using our own resources and
True.
taking
True.
care of them. Yeah.
You know, and the truth is, as you're saying that, one of the reasons that compels me to get involved in the whole business of community. I always remember a principal saying a lot of years ago, well over 20 years ago, that when you come to the school as a teacher, you leave your home, your middle class home, and you drive out to your gate and you close the gate and you carry your children to a prestige school and they're doing well, and you come here teaching these children from the lower income level of society. When you deny them your skills, when you fail to input into their lives, when they grow up, they will become the same bandit who will break into your house, who will rape your daughter, who will do, you understand? So get your hands wet and put it on getting there and start to work. I never forgot that, and I am talking about a lot of years now. And that is one thing that compels me. I don't want to do well, have a measure of success, and rock back, and one day come home and see a house broken into, or one day police walking up to the door and bringing some sad news. I have to make a contribution to society. You know, we all have to make a contribution to society. I don't want to be on the papers criticizing the Rowley government, criticizing the police, criticizing this one and that one. No, I want to be part of the help, because it makes me sleep comfortable when the night comes that I have done something. I have touched a life,
True.
maybe even saved a life. That is my that is what I feel I am called to do. You know, it's one thing to have the letters after your name, but if that is all, I think your life is not being maximized in your community, your ministry and your service. You are actually denying people it. So we who have the skills and the training, we must get involved in our community, as we see the ills, as we see the weaknesses, as we see all of the issues that that work against our teenage boys and girls, that work against our young men and our young women. If we have the ability and the skills, we have to get in there and help save a life. Even if it's one life at a time, we must do that. And that will help make our society a better place. You know,
So
that is
true.
what we have to do.
You know,
So,
you shared that scenario there, and it took me back to a memory that I had where I went in to do some training with some teachers, and one of the teachers, he was adamant. He said, Mr. London, I have my classroom, and I have those students that will focus and will study and they will work hard and whatever. And he was saying that those who don't want to learn, he say you will put them out the class. You have no time for them. You don't have no time to waste. And I mean, and I pose the same type of scenario. What if 10 years from now, one of the same students that was in your class, he comes and he's the one that sticks you up.
yes,
He's the one that has the gun. You know, at the end of the day, you are responsible for. I mean, the Bible talks about being a shepherd over. And when one sheep gets lost, you leave the
yes,
99 to go and find the
yes,
one. That I don't just allow that one to slip through the cracks, and I have to be responsible for those that are within my charge, who God has placed within my charge. And so it means that I know that parents would always give the involvement. I know that a lot of these students rude, disrespectful, as the case may be. Um, but I have to be willing to fight for each and every one.
yes, that's correct. That's correct. Every child is worthy effort, and no child must be left behind. No child must be neglected. And even as we continue our work, um, we it may be necessary, like today, how you joined forces with me for this short period. I think this kind of a collaboration will only redound to the benefit of somebody at the end of the day, you know, because we are saying things that a lot of people might be thinking but will not say. You know, we are the idea is put on the social media platform into cyberspace, put some truth there so that the amount of negativity we could, at least start to stem that tide in, so that when someone is scrolling through and they see your name and they say you look like them, they pause and they listen and they hear what you speak, and it's a light in a very, very dark place. And that is what we are called to be, lights. So I thank you, Shakir, for sacrificing your time. I
You're
really
most welcome.
coming here with me and being part of this education process for the month of October. And I trust that as you continue your own work, God will bless you and you will reap a great reward. So before we close, share a last word, please, with us.
Um, I just want to encourage everyone that is listening out there. Don't give up on Trinidad and Tobago.
Amen.
Look at yourselves, look at your homes, look at your families. One of the assignments I like to give my clients is to envision your lives 30 years, 20 years from now.
Amen.
Good to have vision, good to have vision for what our life should look like, our relationships, our communication, our finances, whatever it is. Envision it 30 years from now, the 11th of October 20, will be 52.
2052, yes.
What does my family look like? What
Yes.
does my generation that comes after me, the legacy that I pass on, the
Amen.
children, the
I like that
grandchildren?
word, legacy, legacy, yes.
What does that look like? And based on that vision, it gives you an indication as to the steps that I need to be making, taking, changing right now in my life.
Amen. 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 So, blessings to you, my brother. Convey my regards to your wife and your family,
Will
and
do,
look forward
will do.
to meeting some other time in the future.
Sure, will do, will do. You have a
Amen.
good one as well. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, man. Yes, man.
All right, okay, take care.